July 27th, 2023 marked a new and somber chapter in mountaineering history. K2, the savage mountain, lived up to its name. It was a day that dozens of people summited successfully, but it was marred by a tragic loss of life of a porter named Muhammad Hassan, who previously had zero high-altitude experience. The report of over 70 climbers literally stepping over Hassan on their way to the summit as he struggled for air has left the mountaineering community questioning how to deal with the rapid growth of the commercialization of the 8,000 meter peaks. This is a moral dilemma for sure, but an organizational one as well, begging the question of whether mountaineering associations, such as the one that oversees permits for 8,000 meter peaks in Pakistan, should set about rules or regulations about garbage and human waste on one end of the scale, and in the case of Muhammad Hassan, should an inexperienced porter even be allowed up the mountain past base camp for any reason whatsoever? I have more on this story in a recent interview that I did with K2 climber Willie Steindl. The interview is linked in the notes. Steindl started a fundraising page for the family of Muhammad Hassan, and it has made quite an impact around the world. And now, before we go off about 70 plus climbers literally stepping over another person as he lost his life, we have to remember that this was on a nearly vertical ledge. There was just a tiny little pathway for climbers to walk on. All of them were attached to a single fixed rope that moved, as you're looking at this picture, essentially from right to left. Rescuing Hassan might very well have been not only impossible, but extremely risky and dangerous, to say the least. Suffice it to say, Hassan should not have been there in the first place with zero high-altitude experience. And he had very little high-altitude equipment with him, including the lack of a down suit. It's amazing that he actually made it as far as he did, but he was drawn by the higher rate of pay. The porters down in base camp made approximately $55 total throughout the course of the expedition, about $3 a day, and the high altitude porters were being paid $20 a day. So Hassan, with a wife, 3 children, and a sick mother at home, was lured upward by the higher pay that he might have received up there. Now, I'm not looking for all the trolls who came out flying when I did a short in this story with Willie Steindl about what people are paid in Pakistan versus somebody who has a BMW and 2 houses here in the United States. I don't, by the way. You can't really compare it. The fact is that this gentleman was extremely poor, and in the village that he lived, women are not allowed to work. So he was really the only breadwinner, and his mother had diabetes and needed a lot of medical care. I learned of this story of Muhammad Hassan through an article written in the Explorer's Web by Angela Benevides, who I've interviewed several times on this channel, and hers was the first story about this tragedy on K2, and it sparked an outrage, and it also, because of her article, it went viral, and it was covered around the world. So today I have a short interview with Angela to talk about her story and the potential for there being really landmark changes in how things are handled on K2 in the future. As well, I have downloaded a 70-page report that was released by the governing authority in Gilgit-Baltistan that Angela Benevides did a report on. I won't bore you with the 70 pages, but it is fascinating, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. With the rise in mountaineering since COVID, the expeditions to K2 have literally blown up, and there are so many new guiding companies, and essentially with all that many more clients and paying customers who want to climb the mountain, there's an expanded demand for high altitude porters and Sherpa, which leads indirectly to the reason or why Muhammad Hassan was up there in the first place. And so because of the potential to make more money, Hassan was drawn upward. In this 70-page report, it says that the operating authority in Gilgit-Baltistan has banned Lila Peak Expeditions, which hired Hassan, from operating in that region for 2 years. In the 70-page report, there are also other details, testimonies, and a long set of recommendations and changes that truly mark a turning point on K2, thanks to Angela Benevides reporting this story in the first place. So now I want to bring you my interview with Angela Benevides, who doesn't necessarily talk about specifics of the report, but about the overall look, the optics of what took place on K2. She's a very sensitive reporter, even though she's a give me the facts, ma'am, kind of reporter, and has been out there at the front end of the spear asking the difficult questions of people and rooting out people such as Willie Steindl, who has made an incredible impact on the lives of Muhammad Hassan's family with a very successful GoFundMe page. As a point of note, before we get to Angela, the link to my interview with Willie Steindl will be in the notes of this video. Before we get to this awesome interview, I want to thank our sponsor for today's video, Musa, Masala. They believe in safe, healthy, and culturally aware mountain travel with their ongoing projects in healthcare and education. Musa Masala aims to enhance the experience of the outdoors for everyone, from first-time hikers to experienced climbers and trekkers. There's a link in the notes of this video where you can find out more about Musa Masala. They are awesome. Thank you so much for helping make this video possible. Here's my short interview with Angela Benevides of Explorers Web from her home in Spain. So, Angela, this story has been evolving. It sounds like the world took notice when they learned about Muhammad Hassan dying and people stepping over him. Could you tell me a little bit about the aftermath? So maybe bring me up to date on it and what's going on with it.
If you talk to Willi Steindl, he has probably told you about all the details about what happened. But there was a summit push on K2, the only summit push of the season. There were some rumors starting about some kind of problems, but then the summit pictures started, and I was lucky enough to have a contact who put me in touch with Willi Steindl and with Philip, the cameraman who had a drone, and they told me what had happened. They told me what they knew. They were in the middle of the trek back, right? So they were looking for a place with Wi-Fi in the middle of the Karakoram. But mainly they were absolutely shocked about what happened. They were saying, this is not possible. We couldn't believe what was going on. And there was a guy in trouble. This guy was alive. There was a long line, and people was literally jumping over him on the way to the summit. That was the key of the story, because that's what they told me, and that's what happened. And that's what made the story go viral. And then media all around the world picked the story. There were some videos shot by Sherpas who were right at the traverse. But this is my job as a media. Sometimes I report on happy stories. Sometimes I report on epic. Sometimes I have to report on something ugly. This story has gone viral because it appeals to universal values. It's not about summiting. It's not about a mountain accident, which was in the end a mountain accident. It was about what brings a normal person to go there, and when facing this, just ignore what's going on in your place. But then if you look around, this is happening on K2, and it's happening with many people in many situations of life. We are in an individualistic society. So what would you have done? Right? Because it looks from a home, it looks like, oh my God, what's wrong with these people? But then you see the nuances and you see the circumstances, and everybody had a. So the answer is not easy. What we would do in their position, it's not so easy to answer. If you ask every single person, no one is going to tell you, oh yeah, I didn't care, I just stepped over him, it was really a bad thing that this stupid guy was in the middle of the road. Right? No one, of course, no one. People is not like that most of the times. but this is what happens, and this is why I wanted to write a follow-up, because the story went viral, and in the end the moral was, oh, these horrible K2 climbers, wealthy stupid people leaving poor porters to die. So in the end, it is not so simple. I don't know what happened. I can only do my job, which is asking around. But I would like to ask around not only about what happened, but about what could we do for these kind of things not to happen. And to my surprise, the first thing that we could do, or what we have done, was talking about it. Because I think something may change from now. And it's not because climbers are going to completely change their minds. They need the motivation. They're going to invest a lot of money on such climbs. But now they are aware of the meaning and the repercussion and the consequences, right? And the reaction of mainstream audiences, where virtually everyone, to these kind of issues and the perception. So the thing is that I started trying to talk to people, some climbers, I had answers from some of them, different reaction depending on the people. I talked to Nepali Sherpas because their role was very important, and because what we saw in Pakistan was the situation in Nepal 20 years ago. And then, meanwhile, while I was working on the story, there was like a probe by local authorities in Pakistan, in the authorities of Gilgit-Baltistan, which is the state where all the 8,000ers are, right? It's the mountain area. So there was this probe, and the results which were made public, but for sure, they know what happened in K2 on the 27th of July, 2023. Well, you have, maybe something will change, or maybe they will ban journalists altogether, which is the plan B, right?
Stop asking so many questions. Yeah. We don't like people seeking the truth. Just get our permit fees paid and leave.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, you want to climb. That's where you get there, right? And you hire an agency and you pay a lot of money to stay away of trouble. So everyone in this story has a reason, right? And they say, yeah, well, I'm not supposed to rescue a climber. Yeah, you're not supposed, but you might have done something. Well, now you think about it, but you know, in the moment, so we're all human. And my conclusion after all this is that we cannot just live with over 100 people on the mountain, on a summit push, the only summit push in the season, unstable conditions, a lot of stress, because there were these avalanches during the night and people was really nervous. You cannot leave everything to the goodwill and the solidarity of climbers, especially when there's more than 100 people up there. Because if it's only 3, it's you and your friends, and you're not going to leave your friends behind to die in altitude. But when there's so many people, you don't know each other, you always think someone else will do something if something has to be done. You don't really stop to check whether this guy is alive or not, or you just want to go on and stay out of trouble. Focus on your goal, put one foot in front of the other, put one foot in front of the other, and try to reach the summit and make it down alive. So I'm not justifying the behavior of the climbers, but I'm not going to point my finger in a black and white situation, because there's so many shades of gray here. Just imagine in that day, with no clear instruction, with so much stress, what happened if some people say, why the rope fixing teams, they were at the head of everything. They should have turned around and helped the guy. Yeah. And you know what would have happened? Because there was only one line. 100 people clip to that line. And then you have the rope fixing team. Everybody has paid for from a big expedition, and they say, no, guys, we're turning around because there's this guy, Summit Push is over. It's over. So that would have been a mess too. The situation is not so clear. So maybe what we should do is trying to decide in advance how to react in such situation, which implement measures to try and avoid this situation to happen. Of course, no one is going to prevent completely mountain accidents.
Hey there, amazing viewers. If you've been enjoying the content on Everest Mystery and want to dive even deeper into this world of the 8,000 meter peaks and mountaineering, please subscribe and consider becoming a channel member or joining our Patreon community. Your support not only helps me create more of what you love, but also grants exclusive access to behind the scenes content, early releases, and more. Click the link below and in the show notes to become part of our journey. Together, let's take this adventure to new heights. And to Angela Benevides, thank you again for being a part of Everest Mystery. And to all of you, thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Please leave some comments below if you have anything to say about this. Keep them kind. Do one kind act. Make the world a better place, and don't look for anything in return. One step at a time, we can make this world a better place to live. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Peace out.